How's it going, y'all? It's your boy Raymond back up in here with another music video, and today, I know it's been a little while since I've been back doing some videos. The past month and a half or so of the semester has just been insane, but it's finally pretty much over with, and I've got a lot of stuff to catch up on, including this video right now, so let's dive in. Today, we're going to be talking about the new Laura Marling album, Patterns in Repeat. This is the latest album from Laura Marling since her 2020 album Song for Our Daughter, which saw her sort of going into a new direction from her previous work in the 2010s. Obviously sort of diving into more of the themes of motherhood and becoming a parent and sort of the idea of age. Initially, Laura isn't really an artist that I was extremely interested in when that album came out at the time. She was sort of new, but I had a couple of friends recommend her to me when that album came out, and I was somewhat interested to see sort of where she was going to go. I mean, obviously that album was really huge for her, and that was sort of one of the first albums that kicked off the COVID era of COVID albums that came out around the 2020, 2021 years, really. And it's crazy that it's been 4 years since that really happened. And now we have a new project here, which I kind of flew under the radar a little bit for me, just because the past month and a half there had really been a lot of stuff that has come out, like the new Tyler album, the new Kendrick album, which I will be addressing in another video. But there was just a lot of stuff that was coming out around the time of this album's release, and after going through a lot of those other projects, I had sort of seen this getting a lot of buzz online, and I remember that I had heard some songs from Song for Our Daughter, and I was curious to see what this new project was going to lead to. And I'm super glad I did, because honestly, this album, after many listens over the past month or so that it's been out, I've really been enjoying it, and I think this honestly might be one of my favorite albums of the year. And it was kind of nice too, because I hadn't really been following the rollout for this album. I hadn't heard any of the singles, and I didn't even know that it was really coming out at all. So giving it a full listen and a full run through back to back was just really amazing and really lovely to listen to as well. First off, this might be one of the warmest albums I think I've ever heard. It's definitely probably sonically maybe one of the best albums of the year as well. There's just such a texture and such a quality, and also a DIY feel to the production that I wasn't quite expecting just right off the bat. I guess I had kind of an idea of the style and genre that she was going to be going for based off of her previous album, but this just kind of took it and just ran with it in a completely interesting and really nice direction. Immediately from the first track, Child of Mine, it sort of envelops you into the album and really does a good job of setting the aesthetic and pulling you in. Obviously, you have the little birds chirping outside. You have a child who seems to be cooing in the background and sort of laughing, but also maybe crying. And it seems honestly, she just had, her microphone and maybe some of a studio setup in her house. And she was probably just recording sounds just naturally throughout her day to day and mixed it in with the albums and the songs. You start off essentially with these really soft acoustic guitars, and her vocals are just so present, and she has this great warmth to her voice, and she is essentially serenading you, and also you almost feel like you are the child that she's holding in her arms throughout the entire process of the album, and you really get a sense that you're in the room with her as she's singing you these songs. And then progressively throughout this track, you get the addition of strings, you get some splashes of synths here or there, as well as some lovely harmonizing backing vocals. And this really does honestly set a really great tone for the album and gives you a taste of kind of everything that the album really has to offer in this first track. Lyrically, it's obviously dealing with more of the concept of being a mother as she had another child, not only in the making of this album, but also, and it's sort of about the idea of her being a mother and also, how much she's going to love and care for her child, but also her trauma and some of the drama of everyday life is and can possibly sort of like get in the way. And she's recognizing these things as we go along the album. As we go further into the track list, this other concept of sort of the cycle of life, or patterns and repeat, of course, start to come into play as well. The song Pattern deals with this concept where Laura is essentially singing about how the naivete of her children will eventually fade and they will learn from their lessons, and also sort of everything that has previously happened before will also happen again. But she's older now and she's sort of progressed and she's evolved from the space that she was in before, sort of almost like a rebirth as also a birth of her child in a sense. And the song Your Girl takes this concept and sort of applies it towards like a difficult relationship that she had with a previous lover, maybe an ex. I also kind of could see it interpreted as the relationship that she maybe had with her father. It seems like there's this back and forth, this struggle to sort of really grasp this person and really allow them to be invited into your life when there's sort of such like a maybe not like that great of a person, or there's they have problems or they've hurt you in the past. But it's funny how these things all work out for the clowns. That line really sort of puts into perspective sort of the thing that she's talking about, where she feels like these people are sort of out of place, and they've sort of maybe not done some sort of physical harm, but definitely maybe left like an emotional scar on her. But even after all of it, she still ends each chorus with "I'll still be your girl," even coming back around to the point where like she's sort of done holding grudges and she's just ready to sort of accept this person into their life, even if they have hurt her. And it also gives like a really nice feeling of hope to the relationship as well. And that sort of seems to be an underlying theme around the album as well. And as we go further along, there's also this concept of sort of the remembrance and also the reflection of past relationships, not only with past lovers, but just people in her life in general. The Shadows, for instance, is sort of like this vague track sort of detailing this idea that this person lives in like the shadow of her heart. This person sort of is like a scar on her and has sort of hurt her in a way, but she still like holds on to these things even as she tries to progress forward. And similarly, the song Caroline, which is a lot more literal, sort of essentially describing this experience where a past lover sort of came back to her and wanted to reestablish herself in Laura's life, and she essentially rejects her and tells her to literally like stop calling her and to just like leave her alone, because that she wants to leave this person in the past. And in the song Looking Back, which is, obviously you can tell by the title alone, she points out the obvious, saying that, all she does is really just look back in her life. And this album is sort of really just her sort of pondering on her past as she's trying to look forward with this new child of hers. And also along, with these standout tracks, you also get some of these nice little instrumentals that come along with the album as well. Obviously, the Lullaby instrumental closes out the album, which I actually think is quite nice. And, keeping in with the aesthetic of the album too, like the instrumentals feel like they expand the sonic palette of the album really well. So I'm honestly not like too mad about that here. If anything, I kind of wish there was almost like a bit more. I almost could have used like more songs, maybe if it was just like a little bit longer. Some of them feel a tad bit short, even though they are just very stripped back acoustic ballads most of the time. Or maybe there's a deluxe version that'll come out. I don't know. The album also really reminds me sort of Big Thief's last album in the way that it had this sort of almost campfire feel to a lot of the tracks. It feels very DIY and it kind of feels like you're in the room making it with them. And this album gives me that similar feeling that I've sort of been looking for from some other projects that have been coming out. And I think also really the thing that affected me was really listening to this album at like the start of fall. This album sort of came out when it really started to get colder up here in LA, and just listening to this, walking around LA and driving, 60 degrees or something like that. It's really nice and it really sets a vibe. And so if you're looking for that, I think this album is definitely for you, and I definitely recommend checking it out if you haven't already. I think for this album, I'm going to give it a 8.5 out of 10. I think it definitely has a shot of making it in my top 10 for this year. I think it sounds incredible. I guess the only really, minimal complaints that I really have is I guess I just wish maybe like the track list was a little bit longer. Maybe if there was like a few more songs here or there that would sort of maybe expand the sound palette even more other than the instrumentals, I would have really liked that as well. But I think the stripped back nature, and I think a lot of like the little string arrangements and the embellishments across the album, sonically, I think it's produced immaculately, and I think overall it's just fantastic. But yeah, and that's pretty much it. That's my review. I hope you guys enjoy the album as much as I do. Be sure to like and subscribe down below and hit the notification bell, because there's going to be a lot more videos coming before the end of the year. I've got to do the new Kendrick album. I've got a bunch of films that I've seen recently that I've got to do reviews on that are going to be coming out. I've got to do my top 10 albums list video, and I've got to do my top 10 films list video as well. Definitely stay tuned for that. There's going to be a lot of work on my part that's going to be going into the last half of the month here. So yeah, be sure to comment down below as well on your thoughts on the album, and if you guys liked it, whether you guys did or not. I appreciate you guys for watching, and stay tuned, and I'll see you guys in the next video.